Hi, Stamper fans. I'm Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am here to help you connect with your people, whether that's gathering together to craft or you creating things to share with them. It's all about making and deepening those connections. So let's get to it. All righty. Okay, first exciting news. It's August, and so we are ready to start redeeming the coupon codes that we earned in July. So that's very exciting. Don't go to your online store just quite yet, because I'll have some more news during the broadcast. Watching a little too much Olympics. Is there such a thing? No. But anyway. Hello, Penny. Good to see you. Yes, so if you have earned coupon codes from our bonus days in July, it is time to start redeeming them. You can add as many codes to an order as you want. There's no limit or anything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you need the link to shop, it is in the video description, so you can go right there to shop with me and redeem your coupon codes. Hopefully you've saved them. I know I have mine in my email, so I've got to copy those over. But as I said, don't rush over there just now because there's something fun coming starting tomorrow that you're going to want to take advantage of. So let's get that out of the way. All right. So next, our Friday night stamping, it was a tie again. We just had one of those a couple weeks ago, so that was exciting. I will tell you that normally when we have a tie, we have like a 9 p.m. Sunday night cutoff time. So I usually check the votes around then, and it was a tie last night. Usually what I do is I will text our daughter and say, hey, go vote. And she'll be the tiebreaker. But I said, oh, should I text Kylie? And Russ says, no, just let it be a tie. I'm like, okay, we're going to let it be a tie again. So there you go. So this was Russ's mouse card, which I love that he made him Lost Lagoon and not just gray. I'm loving the Lost Lagoon with the red too. So super cute. We are making my card today. And this, somebody had said they love the gold, which it definitely looks like gold, but this is actually one of our in colors. It's called Wild Wheat. It's kind of a browny, yellow, greeny kind of vibe, which is not normally my vibe. So I will tell you, this is the very first time I'm using this color. And I loved this. I loved how it turned out. So never underestimate a color, right? So, okay. So tonight we're going to use watercolor paper. So if that either intimidates or baffles you, stay tuned because I have some tips. And we started off with throwing one of my ink pads on the floor. That's awesome. So I'll be bending over to get that in a minute. But first, I started off with this cool designer paper. I thought Friday, or well, actually, we pre-stamped because we were gone all weekend. But I grabbed some designer paper and I thought, oh, I have this Country Woods that I got free at for attending an event. And I thought I should really use it. So what happened was, there is a full sheet of this somewheres. Because as you know, almost all of our designer paper is double-sided. There we go. So it had this cool weathered gray wood on the one side. And on the other side, it has this very cool kind of whitewashed wood, but it's got this wild wheat going through it and also basic gray. And I thought, ooh, that's really pretty. And so I thought it would be cool to put butterflies kind of on the wood, so to speak, right? Because they do that sometimes. They just land on a wall. That's kind of where my inspiration came from. So then I looked at the back of the designer package and came up with the colors and went, okay, that's the colors I'm going to use. And then I decided to use, I was going butterflies. So we pulled out the Sketch to Butterflies bundle. And this bundle to me just kind of screams watercolor. You could totally just stamp these in a color and let them go, not color them in at all, not do a watercolor effect. They would be gorgeous. So don't let this intimidate you either if you don't really like coloring. Wink, wink, Penny. It is a super easy bundle to create beautiful things with without a lot of fuss. I'm going to do a little bit of fuss tonight. So, all righty. Let's pick up that ink pad I dropped. Oh my gosh. I will say I'm hoping I didn't forget anything because I'm a little less prepared than usual. Hey. Um, because we were at a music festival for like the last 4 days and didn't get home until close to 8 o'clock last night. So I had left most of the product out that I made this card with and just had to cut some cardstock and do some things, and then I was set. So fingers crossed, I've got everything here. Oh, you've been color. Oh my goodness. Oh, 180 pack of colored pencils. That's cool. That's very fun. Okay. Oh, so real quick before we start, because I showed you that gorgeous designer paper. This is what's happening tomorrow. Is we have a designer series paper sale. So if you're not familiar with the lingo, that's what we at Stampin' Up call pattern paper or scrapbook paper, right? All the pretty papers. So we've got 14 different packs of paper that are going to be 15% off starting tomorrow, August 6th, through the end of the month. So here's the cool thing. There's no limits. You don't have to buy a certain amount in order to get the pack at 15% off. You don't have to buy 3 and get 1 or whatever. It's just buy them, okay? And if you earned coupon codes last month, you can put those coupon codes towards your on sale designer paper and like really clean up. That's what I'm planning to do. So because there's quite a few of these I don't have yet. So definitely going to have some probably coming to our house very soon. All right. So that's my other little plug. We're done with commercials. And let's get to stamping. So because watercolor paper does involve some drying time, I did some pre-stamping. And so I'll be kind of showing you what I did, but I'll be probably using the pre-stamped things for most of it. Oh, that's for that. Okay. I don't even know what I have in front of me. So as always, all the measurements and supplies are in the supply list link in the video description. So you don't have to worry about frantically writing down anything, or I don't have to worry about telling you what size everything is while I'm trying to do this, right? Everything's right there. So we're starting off with a wild wheat base. And like I said, I'm so happy that I'm finally using this color because it is not like my go-to color. So did I cut this right? Yes, okay. It just looked small. And then we have a basic gray layer behind. I really like that thin layer. So I have a regular base of card here. And then I've got the 5 1/4 by 4 of the basic gray. And then I just cut 1/8 of an inch off. So you've got 1/4 inch smaller on this. So you've got a kind of a wide border. And then just 1/8 of an inch difference on this. So you've got that really skinny border. And it's just nice to have that. It's kind of like matting a picture, right? You don't have the same distance. It's nice to have a different distance because it's visually pleasing. That's the word I was going for. Oh, and also that's the extra one. This is the one, because as you can tell, there's variations in this card, in this designer paper. So I wanted to grab this one that had a little more gray. But you probably didn't notice it from the picture. I also embossed this little guy. So it's already got a wood grain printed on it. What I did, because I'm sneaky like that, is I grabbed my Timber 3D embossing folder and gave it more wood grain. So it's got texture to it as well. So we're going to pop that into the folder, grab our base, goes down first. Folder goes in with the hinge side going in the machine first. That way it is less stress on the folder and everything doesn't move around. And then the number 4 specialty plate. And all of those bases and plates come with your machine, which is awesome. And I did happen to look today, the regular size machine is actually on back order right now, so you can't order it. But the mini machines are available. So you won't be able to use like this particular embossing folder on it, but there's plenty of other dies and folders you could use. So if you're looking for one, and especially if you got coupons, now's a good time. So yes, you can hopefully see, there we go, that cool texture that we added to the wood grain. I probably could have had it going this way. Oops, that's what makes it homemade, right? Okay, so that aside for just now, we're gonna do some die cutting in a little bit. So we'll bring that bad boy back out here. So I was telling you, we were at a music festival. It is up in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's called Mile of Music. This is the 4th time we've gone to this festival. One of the cool things is it's complete, all the music's completely free for attendees. Like you don't have to pay an entrance. I did not put enough adhesive on that, clearly. Yeah, there's no like cover charge to get into anything. There's no ticket price. It is all put on but by a non-for-profit in Appleton, and it is amazing. So we saw 20 different artists over the we saw 19 artists over 3 days, and then yesterday we saw one before we left. So that was the 20th one. Because we had a 4.5-hour drive to get home. So it is just a remarkable festival, and they're all like indie artists pretty much. It's all original music, no covers are allowed, and you get to meet the artists afterwards. Like they'll take pictures and sign your albums and just be so grateful that you came to hear them play, and they tell stories about how they wrote the songs, and it's such a soul filler. Absolutely love it. We are a very musical family, so we are very big on things like this. So I'm so thrilled that we discovered this festival. I did not put enough adhesive on this layer, and it's very much bothering me. So we'll pop a little liquid glue down there and put a acrylic block on it to hold it down. My Stampin' Seal is almost empty, and I did bring a refill over, but I'm frugal. That's the word we'll put. So I don't want to put it in just yet because I want to use every inch. Anybody else like that? Okay, let's get to some stamping, and let me show you how I made these butterflies. It was actually a fellow demonstrator friend of mine from Down Under, Lucia. She used this as her technique last week, and so I wanted to do it, but I actually messed it up, which is why I didn't mess it up. I did a different technique, I guess. That's why these 3 look different. These 2 are really following what Lucia did last week, and this one was a oops, I forgot a step. So I will show you both ways and how they turned out. And then I'm going to show you some other ways you can use your watercolor paper pretty easily. You know, I don't want to give you like 27-step process to go through, okay? So what you're going to need for this particular technique is one of our spritzers, and this one is full of water, which is why I marked it that way, because I do have one that's full of rubbing alcohol. For other techniques, like you would think that I'm a big technique person, but I forget to do things all the time. So, hey, Joan, how are you? Good evening from America. Speaking of Down Under, there's one of my other buddies. So what I did on accident, so this is our watercolor paper, and I stamped my big butterfly, and then I went, oh, I was supposed to spritz that with water first. But the cool part about our watercolor paper is it reacts really well to water, so I just spritzed it after. And it kept a lot of the detail, but it made all the colors spread and look very cool and watercolory, and like I'm so artistic, right? So that was the way I did the big one. Wipe that guy down. Uh, yeah, trying to figure out what I'm doing here. If I'd look at my notes, because I actually do have notes, you would never know it to listen to me, right? It's more of a guideline, actually. So let's grab our smaller butterflies, and I will show you how the technique that Lucia was actually doing and how I made the other ones. And for that, watercolor paper again, water in the spritzer. You heavily spritz your paper. I mean, it's like it's got a puddle on it. And then you ink up your stamp and stamp it, and everything just bleeds right away. And as she was explaining, you want something with a lot of detail like this. And I will show you why in just a moment. So obviously, you're going to have some drying time with this, right? I let mine sit overnight, the ones that I pre-stamped. You could use your heat tool to speed that up. It does spread the ink around, so just be aware of that. Handy dandy paper towels on my cart. How many of you have one of these carts from IKEA? Because it's like the best invention ever invented, I swear. I love it so much. So here are the ones I stamped last night, and they are dry, and you can see how the ink ran. And you can tell I separated the pieces today because as I spritzed this one, it ran into everything. So, but you can still see all the details. So we're not going to worry about that one. Well, most of the detail is gone from these. So now that they're dry, I'm going to ink that up still in the wild wheat and stamp it right over that. And now we have that cool watercolor spread, but we have all the detail as well. Whoops, I'm not clean that enough. So because I've never used my wild wheat as well, it is a very juicy pad. Make sure I'm cleaning my stamps very well. And the other one is the sideways butterfly. So again, pre-inked and, spread. Now we're just going to ink right over that to get all the cool detail. Super fun. I feel like Monet or something. Was joking with somebody, I think it was just last week. At my library where I work my day job, we have a new innovation lab, and we have a Cricut and an engraving machine and sewing machines and sergers, I think, 3D printers, all sorts of cool stuff. And so I was telling somebody about that the other day. It was her first time into the library since we had redone everything. And I asked her if she was crafty, and she's like, oh, well, hem haw, like we all do. And she said, I'm not good at any of it. And I said, well, because I'm a karaoke person, I said, crafting is like karaoke. You don't have to be good. You just have to have fun. And I told her that not everybody can be a Picasso. And as far as I was concerned, Picasso wasn't that talented either. I don't care for his stuff. I'm like, I like things that kind of look like they're supposed to, eyes where they're supposed to go and things like that. So she chuckled. So always remember that crafting is just about having fun and maybe a little stress relief. I know it is for me. Don't try not to be a perfectionist. Yes, the wild wheat does look very golden in the wash. Not in the wash like laundry. But yeah, it comes out very golden looking, and it's pretty cool. So if you're looking for something golden on a card, wild wheat might be the way to go if you don't have something gold. So we will die cut these out because they're nice and dry because I left them overnight. Because I knew I was not going to be able to do this in the allotted time I give myself if I didn't do it ahead of time with the watercolor paper. So I do have a couple of other ways you can use watercolor paper that I'm going to show you after we're done die cutting here. Or I suppose after we've got the card all together. That'd probably be good. Okay, let's die cut our little butterfly beauties. So we were joking over the weekend too, because as one of the acts said, he said he started at 10 afternoon. And when he was greeting us, he was saying, thanks so much for coming out at the ungodly hour of 12 p.m. because none of these musicians do anything in the morning. And Russ jokes that this is my kind of vacation because nothing starts before noon and I like to sleep in. So yes, this is probably one of my favorite trips we take. It's fabulous. Okay, so we've got that going on. We need our sentiment. So I have there it is, a little scrap of white. So you probably, if you're going to use this die that I did from the Something Fancy dies, which I love. We used this one recently, but I do love this little hexagon. And if you're going to use that, then you need to have it about, I think, like about 2-inch square will do. But I just said scrap. So it kind of depends on what you're going to use, what die you're going to use and whatnot. So if you want to recreate just like I did, then you'll want a 2-inch square piece of scrap. And this particular stamp, the Sticking of You, actually most of these sentiments in this set are very thin letters. So when you ink it, you don't want to put any pressure on because you don't want ink to get gunked up in all of those spots. And then when you put it down, you just want to kind of rest it. You really don't want to smoosh it. And pick it up. All right. I did not smoosh it quite hard enough. So good thing the paper has two sides. There we go. Perfect. So we've got all of our nice little thin lines still and nothing's smooshy wooshy. It's the technical term. Okay. And what did I do? That's my other one. Oh, yes. I love this stamp. It's one stamp with these 4 butterflies on it. And I just picked up my wild wheat. I could have done it with the gray as well, but I was on a kick, obviously. So I just stamped off and then just popped them in the corner here. So they're a little lighter, and now I could write over them if I want. That's the inside of my card. But that's such a pretty stamp, and it'd be so easy to just make a diagonal line of butterflies right across the middle of your card. So that's another thing I should tell you. Once you buy your stamps, guess what? They're yours. You can do with them whatever you want. So you could cut these guys apart if you know you're going to want to use them individually more than together and have 4 different stamps. I am one of those kind of particular people. So I very rarely will alter stamps or separate them from their stamp set or anything like that. So I know plenty of people that will take all the Christmas sentiments or all the thank you sentiments and put them in one thing and take them away from the stamp set they came with. And it totally just depends on how you stamp, how you organize, how you think. Like I said, they're yours to do with what you will. All right, so we'll pop that on the inside. I do want to show you one thing as well. So on the right side is my pre-stamped, my sample that I did. And on the left is the one I just did. So this was stamped off on paper. This was stamped off on my glass mat. So the glass mat takes off less ink than paper does. Totally makes sense. But just so you know that it's going to be still a deep color if you're doing on the glass mat. It's a new thing, so we're all learning, right? It all depends on how you search. Yeah, you like your words in one place. Well, and you have just such a variety of stuff. Like I pretty much have Stampin' Up and that's it. I don't veer from it. And it's because I did not start stamping until I found Stampin' Up. I didn't understand the whole rubber stamps, right? You guys are just talking about those rubber stamps? Like, what's the big deal? Yeah, 21 years later. So I obviously got addicted pretty quickly. And there are worse addictions to have. Like, this is a very good one and a very stress relieving one. But within a year, I decided to sign up as a demonstrator, and I decided that I didn't want to buy anything that I couldn't also sell. So I'm what we call a business demonstrator. Penny is what we call a discount diva on my team, at least. She's in it for the discount, and that's fabulous. All right, so we have our cute little hexagon. I love it. Yep, Joan, see, you're like me. You don't like mixing them. Now, I will say I have been tempted to do there are people that use like Airtable or Evernote to catalog everything so that they can find sayings quickly. I don't have a lot of stamp sets that I actually keep in rotation because I don't use anything that's retired. So I have probably 20 to 25 stamp sets. So it's pretty easy for me to just look through them quickly and see what I've got. Who's got time for that? Exactly. There are people, Penny, that take a lot of time cataloging their stamps. There's other people actually that will make a copy of the front of the stamp case and then like have a binder so that they can just flip through the binder really easily to find what they need, and then they know what stamp set they're looking for. That's pretty smart and much easier to do. All right, we're going to put a little Stampin' Seal on the back of here and grab our linen thread because I wanted some kind of embellishment, and I really wanted it around the greeting. So I decided linen thread was the way to go. So this is the back of it, even though because I oopsed. All right, and which way do I want it to go? I'm going to start over here. So I'm just going to kind of make loops and stick this down in that adhesive I put down. So I'm not tying it. I'm not like looping it around my hand or anything else. I'm just kind of randomly making some loops and sticking things down. So I want to do like 2 on the bottom and 3 on the top, which is another big area of growth for me in the last 21 years, because when I started, everything had to be symmetrical. And I absolutely had no talent for like collage stamping or anything that wasn't symmetrical. And quite frankly, I was not very happy with the way my cards usually turned out, because turns out, design-wise, your eye likes things in odd numbers and that are not like lined up necessarily. Obviously, if you're doing like a spreadsheet of numbers, you want it lined up. But if you're doing a design of a pleasant artistic thing, usually off center or whatever is better. So a couple of dimensionals will help keep that on there as well. And then I just want to place my butterflies so I have an idea where this sentiment's going to go. Let's peel those backings off. Oh, right side up is good. So I'll tell you about something in just a minute because I noticed it. Too funny. I made a oops on my Friday card, and I kind of oopsed it again, and that's fine. So, oh no, you know me. I love a good spreadsheet. Spreadsheet are definitely works of art, just a different kind of work of art. I love a spreadsheet, absolutely, and color coded. And oh, let me tell you how we scheduled who we were going to see, because there were 200 artists that were at this music festival. And, there's only like 3 days plus like one music set that we could get to. So obviously we needed to make some choices. We had to make some scheduling. So they have a fabulous app, this festival does, but it was hard for me to see where acts would overlap, because it was kind of just a list of, okay, like on Saturday at 1:10 this person's going, and at 1:30 this person's going, and it would tell you where they were playing and everything. But it was very hard for me to visualize. So I created a special Google Calendar just for this festival, put in all of the favorite acts that we liked, what time they were playing, and where. And then I could see how everybody overlapped, and they were all the same color. And then when we decided who we were going to see, I would change the color of that person's event on my Google Calendar. So it was very easy for us to be flexible when rain came through on Thursday and they closed the outdoor stages, and one of our acts was at an outdoor stage. So, okay, who we're going to go see instead, we could see exactly who was there. So trust me, spreadsheets, Google Calendars, works of art. Okay, let me tell you, I love you too. I know. Russ was like, "Oh my God, you did what?" But then he was pretty much in awe of it, and he loves the fact that I did this. So, he planned our whole Alaska trip, like that was his deep dive rabbit hole, and I planned the Mile of Music. That was my deep dive rabbit hole. We all have our strengths. So, I want to show you what I did on my Friday card. I have this little smudge of wild wheat. And that came from the Post-it tape that I use to die cut. The butterfly wasn't quite all the way dry, and so some wild wheat got on it. And then I used the same tape to cut out my sentiment. Oops. But I kind of liked it because it's a watercolory look. Thanks, Joan. And then tonight, I obviously got some wild wheat on my fingers. There. So I've got like some wild wheat speckles kind of going through there. So it's a theme. It was meant to be. All right, let me show you a couple of other things you can do with your watercolor paper. Let me see here. There it is. Did that. Okay, now we're going to do that. I have my notes so I don't forget to show you guys which things. So I'm just going to use this same butterfly. We'll use our wild wheat again because it's pretty gold, isn't it? So on the watercolor paper, we will just stamp with our regular classic ink because it is a water-based ink. Handmade from the heart is right. And I'm going to pull one of my water painters out. It's got we just filled it with water. And it's got a little push here. Let's get that water flowing. Boom. And I am literally just going to spread that color throughout the wings. And it's just picking up the color of the outline. And this is very hard to do on like regular cardstock. It's really, you really have a much better time using the watercolor cardstock. So you can see you still have some of the detail in there, but it has just blended beautifully. So that's one way to use watercolor paper that's super simple. You don't have to worry about picking out a different color. You're just using the same color you stamped in. Awesome deal. Or get our spritzer back out here. Whoops, sorry to bump you. There it is. I'm like, I just had it. Or you can ink up your stamp. Get that paper towel down here. And then before you stamp it on the paper, spritz it with water. And then when you stamp it, again, it's a very smooshy watercolory vibe, right? And that, again, is going to take some drying time because you've got a little bit of a puddle there. That you can do on regular paper as well, but still it's not going to bleed up like that, like it does on watercolor paper. So anytime you're doing you want a watercolor effect, the watercolor paper really is the way to go. And it's really nice if you just have little bits, you're not using a lot anyway. So it's a fabulous thing, very easy to use. You don't have to be a master artist or anything, right? Very dramatic. So 3 very different looks, same ink pad, same watercolor paper, just some different tools you can do. So again, I'm going to probably heat dry all the things I did tonight with my heat tool so that I can use them for something. I can die cut them out or whatever you want, right? Let's see. That's it. I did it. And in pretty much the time I usually allot myself. So let's pop back up here so I can chat for a minute. Thank you all for joining me tonight or joining me on replay. I really appreciate anytime you tune in, and I hope I'm teaching you something every time you tune in, or at least entertaining you, because as I say, I'm hilarious. Just ask me. So that's all I have for you tonight. Remember, the designer paper sale starts tomorrow. You're welcome, Joan. And get those coupon codes out that you earned in July, because those are valid right now through the end of the month. And once the end of the month goes, those are gone. So if you forget to use them, don't say I didn't warn you. All right. If you learned a little something new tonight or just got some inspiration, I would love it if you'd share the video so that your friends and family could learn something new and get some inspiration as well. Until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.